And I think we're there. I think, yes, we are. Good morning, everybody. Let me see. I think it's Thursday, the 21st of October. That's even without looking today. So, but I'm expecting a parcel tomorrow. So that's how I know what the date is. I think I'm right anyway. And yes, it's time for what is it? We're celebrating October this month, the time of ghosts and ghouls and things that go bump in the night. I think this is an exciting month. This certainly is a fun month. So, first of all, before we begin, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who, as always, is standing to my right side. And second, good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rosemary. Can you hear me?
I can perfectly well. Do we have
Good.
anyone on the show today?
Oh,
Anybody? Do we?
people are just starting to log on. Yes.
Okay, so while we're waiting for people to log on, let's talk a little bit about. I had an idea of what I was going to talk about. Now it's gone right out of my head. Thinking. Oh yes. First of all, this was not what I was thinking. But first of all, I don't know if any of you saw our bottom brick exercise yesterday with our lovely Cheryl, who was brilliant. She was really great and so open. I know that she was terrified when she came on. In fact, she told me that she almost cancelled several times from the beginning of the week, changing her mind because she wasn't sure that she was brave enough to do it. But anyway, she came on the show. We did the bottom brick exercise. If you want to know what it is I'm talking about when we're talking about the bottom brick exercise, you must go and take a look at our bottom brickers. We're making a little club. The club is building fast. If you would like to be a bottom bricker, all you have to do is email us and say, can I be a bottom bricker as well? I know there are some of you thinking, yeah, well, I might want to be a bottom bricker, but what is a bottom bricker? And I'm going to send you to the website, rosemaryalte.com, where you can see what a bottom bricker is. It's hard to say a bottom bricker like that, where you can see what a bottom bricker is, where you can see that there are a group of, we haven't had a man volunteer yet, but I'm hoping for that at some point. But you can see a whole group of ladies who have done the bottom brick exercise and they love being in the bottom brick club. And you can see what a bottom bricker needs to do and what a bottom bricker is. But I just would like to say thank you, Cheryl, so very much for coming on the show and for doing that and for being so open and so very brave in sharing your life with us, in sharing some of those things with us. And we have had an email this morning from Cheryl saying how much I'm not sure if enjoys the word, but how much it helped her. And she's already seeing, even after only a couple of hours, she's already seeing major changes in her life. Changes, actually, I think, for the best. Chris, do you think that that's correct to say that she's seeing changes for the best?
Absolutely. And I think that's what she reiterated to us in the email.
Good. Yeah. So anyway, so that said, if you would like, once you know what a bottom bricker is, if you'd like to become a bottom bricker, if you'd like to join that bottom brick club, I'm the president of the club. That's all you need to know. In other words, I'm the boss of the club. I'm laughing when I say that because I've got Grey Eagle standing listening to me. I'm not really the boss of anything. um, excuse me. But Chris, you're a bottom bricker, aren't you?
I am. And as I've told many of the people who have volunteered, you're sitting in the hot seat. And all of your students know what I mean by when I say you're
They
sitting in
do.
the hot seat.
They do. They
It
do.
feels as though you know, you're in the middle of Hollywood and all the lights and the film are about ready to go on and you're sweating and you're trying not to let anybody know you're nervous, excited, scared, and the reality of facing yourself and what you've the choices you've made in life and now the new choices that you need to make going forward. It's all wrapped up into one.
Wow. I wouldn't quite put it like that. Mind you, I've never been on the receiving end of me.
That's
So,
exactly right. You have not.
although having said that, I am my own worst critic. I expect the best from myself. So in some ways, I know, because I'm tough on me, I know that how tough I can be on others too. However, I like to think that it's the, what is it, the velvet glove in the iron fist. So I'm tough, but I'm gentle at the same time. Anyway, so I don't know if Cheryl will be on today, or if she'd like to say anything to us today. I'm not pushing it, Cheryl. If you're there, if you want to comment or let anybody know how you're feeling, how you're doing today, having had a good night's sleep, and now you're thinking about it more clearly, please, we'd love to hear from you if you would like to. No pressure. Now then, what else was I going to talk to you about? Yes, I was going to talk about the idea of ghosts and ghouls and things that go bump in the night, because it is, it's October. It'll be Halloween is next week. In fact, a week on Sunday is will be Halloween night. But we are having our Halloween evening on, let me see, Friday the, if I can get this right, Friday the 29th, which is next Friday. It's a week tomorrow. And we'll be telling stories. I am inviting other people to share their stories as well, if they'd like to. The only thing about sharing stories is they have to be true stories, okay? But isn't it interesting? Isn't it fascinating? We all know that the one thing we love when we are first born is we love to be frightened. We tell nursery rhymes to our kids. Have you ever listened to the nursery rhymes that you tell your kids? Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, fell off the wall, cracked his head, right? Or Jack and Jill rolled down the hill. these these nursery rhymes are not exactly sweet, are they? They're not exactly, you know, encouraging our children to listen to those sweet fairy stories. And most of the nursery rhymes that we tell our kids, I'm just thinking of another one, Goosey Goosey Gander. Do you remember that one? Broke his neck, fell down the stairs and broke his neck. If you think of all those nursery rhymes, there is a tendency, there's always been a tendency for us to do things that scare our children somewhat. And even from a very early age, when you're pushing the stroller, or as we in England we say, when you're pushing the pram around and you're telling the story, when you say boo to the kid, to the baby in the pram, they startle and then they giggle. And we seem to love, even from a very early age, we seem to like to be scared, not terrified, just a little scared. And I remember when, you're all going to think what a horrible mother I am now, because I'm going to tell you a story of how I used to sort of scare Samantha, not terribly scare Samantha, but she would have a couple of friends come over, and sometimes they would stay the night. She may have been about 10, 11, 12, something like that. And these kids always wanted me to tell them a story. And I am a great storyteller. And in fact, I'm thinking of my friend Kay and her girls when they were younger. They used to like me to tell them stories as well. But the story I used to tell one of the stories I used to tell my daughter, because all her friends would come and they'd sort of gather round, and I'd make them whatever, something to eat, something nice to eat, and we'd gather around at night time before bedtime, and they'd ask me to tell them a scary story. So I made up, and this is what I'm asking you not to do. You can't. If you want to share a scary story with us, it has to be true. But this was not true. So I made up the story of Aggie McNelly. And yes, Aggie McNelly became sort of a minor celebrity in our house, because every time kids came to stay, they would always ask if I would tell them another story about Aggie McNelly. And Aggie McNelly, we had a very large garden. In fact, it used to be an old orchard, and many of the apple trees and the pear trees, plum trees, etc., were all in there still. And you know, you could imagine walking through this orchard at night time. It would be sort of a bit scary, a bit. So I would tell the story of how Aggie McNelly used to wander around through the woods at night time, and and eventually the stories got to be a bit creepy, and the kids loved it. Samantha loved it, and I would tell them sort of creepy, spooky things about Aggie McNelly and what she used to do in the woods, and how she would, you know, I don't know if I ever said that she ate children, but that sort of thing, you know, a little bit like the Hansel and Gretel. Look, you see, I'm back to all the fairy tales. Isn't it amazing? Because they're all really scary. They might have good endings, but you know, the witch puts Hansel and Gretel in the oven. You know, what is more scary than that? So so I would weave this story of Aggie McNelly, and it was only years and years later that Samantha and I were talking. We were laughing, and I would say to her, "Do you remember? Do you remember when I used to tell you stories of Aggie McNelly?" And she'd say, "Oh gosh, we'd go to bed and we'd be terrified, absolutely terrified, but we'd giggle and love to be terrified." So Halloween is one of those times. It's the month where we really love to be terrified. You drive along the street and somebody's got a wispy white sheet in the shape of a ghost and ghost faces or witches around and so on and so forth. It's the time that we really love to be scared. Having said that, I don't believe in ghosts. so so when we get together on Friday night for our story time, I think we're advertising it as spine chilling, but it's actually really going to be fun. We're going to have lots of giggles. I am going to tell you some true stories, and I'm hoping that you'll share your true stories with me. And we're just going to have just a really fun time. So if you do want to join us on our 29th, the Halloween, the 29th of whatever it is, October, which is not tomorrow, which is Friday, but the following Friday is the 29th. And you have to join us. If you want to join us, the tickets are really very, very reasonable. We try to make it affordable, because it's really just, we're just going to be sitting around, and you know, sort of, it'll be a little bit like you come into my house, you come into my living room. We're going to sit around. You can bring some spirits with you if you like. I'm going to have vodka, I think, but you can bring any kind of spirits you like. And you never know, because I never know. Gregor might bring some spirits as well. So we might have some spooky stuff going on in my house as we're telling these spooky stories. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, that's on the 29th. Right, Chris. Oh yes, and before, yeah, I do want to mention this, okay? Because before Chris and I come on the show, we always have like a chat about different things. And so I was having not exactly a moan, because I try not to, although I do sometimes, but you know, it's always amazed me. I'm trying to think how to put this. It's always amazed me that there are people out there who have these amazing and fabulous relationships, and some aren't so fabulous, and not everybody wants a relationship. But there are times when I wonder, what am I doing or not doing? Because here I am by myself in this house, which is sometimes a little spooky, but I like it that way, you see, because I encourage. Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. Is this why I don't have a partner? Maybe nobody can deal with the spooky stuff. Maybe on Halloween, maybe on Friday after Halloween, we'll discover why the men in my life all run away. How about that, Chris?
You
Just
think
thought I.
so? You think you're going to discover that?
No, not really. No, not really. No. Anyway, all right, go for it.
All right. Well, Judith said early on here, the bottom brick was really good yesterday. I almost missed it, but we can all learn from the experience.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And, if you have missed it, if you did miss it, where can they find it, Chris?
It will be on your YouTube channel. That's where everything, your bottom brick, your cooking shows, the spirit world sees all, your story
Our,
time with
our,
Rosemary.
our healing sessions, everything is on YouTube. And if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll find a whole wealth of stuff there that, I mean, I don't know, did any of you miss last Sunday morning? Oh my gosh. I made delicious Yorkshire puddings, and I'm pleased to say they were a no fail. Uh, they turned out beautifully, they turned out perfectly. Um, the first batch I made 12 in a muffin pan, and I brought them out. And when I showed Chris, she looked at me and she said, "Why is there a space there?" Because there was one Yorkshire pudding missing. Instead of 12, there were only 11. Well, you have to, as a cook, you have to taste them, don't you? So that's how it was all the way through the show. And I also showed people how to make baked apples, which I have not made since forever. Since I made them for my grandson's class when he was in preschool, and I was a volunteer to show preschoolers how to make baked apples. So I made these baked apples, and of course, brought them out, and the smell was just, it was hard to resist. And again, of course, I had to taste the baked apples. So I got this one delicious looking baked apple. I poured a little cream on it, and I took my spoon and I ate, and I told everybody how lovely it was. I don't think I needed to say how lovely it was during the show because at one point I had to move it because I couldn't resist. I was taking another piece, taking another bite. And I found myself talking with my mouth full, thinking, this is not good. So I eventually had to put it away. But as soon as the show ended, of course, I had it for my lunch. They are delicious. But it was a good show, wasn't it, Chris?
Absolutely. And it reminds me of the question I asked you after you went offline, having to do with, you said your dad was there.
Yeah.
And
My dad was there. My brother was there. Gregor was there. Yeah.
and from time to time they tell you, you need to add a little bit more salt or let it cook longer, et cetera, et cetera. My question to you had to do with, all right, well, how are they able to taste what you've just made? How are they able to enjoy it? And I think your audience would love to hear your answer to that.
Do you remember what I said to you?
Yes, I do. Well, it's better said from you. I don't want to confuse it.
Okay. Well, we all know everything is energy, don't we? And so, very often when I'm talking with the spirit world, and I'm not sure, Chris, if we went into this much depth about it because I can't quite remember what I did say to you, but um, when I'm connecting with the spirit world, um, I'm talking with them, but I'm also feeling what they're feeling. If they're emotional, if they are distraught, if they are, if they're eager or happy or joyful, whatever it is, I feel that because I'm connecting with their energy and we're sort of fusing. It's literally, we are fusing our energy together. So everything that they're feeling, everything that they're experiencing in some way, I'm experiencing that too, and vice versa. So as I'm eating the apples, which is what you want to know, how does my daddy You know, because I'm saying he loves these things. He loves baked apples, and well, how you know, how does he get that experience of the flavor and the taste and so on? And he gets that experience through his connection with me, because we are. It's almost like when you're talking with the spirit world, when you're talking with people in the spirit world, you're sort of fusing together in a way, which is why the connection is so good and so powerful and so positive most of the time, the majority of the time, certainly as far as I'm concerned. And so as my taste buds are exploding with the flavor, which is actually what they did with the baked apples, because there were baked apples and raisins and brown sugar and cream and all that good stuff. And as you put it in your mouth and you get a whole mouthful of this stuff, you're not just tasting, but in every single way, you know, you're sort of infusing your whole self with the taste of this, with the experience of it. And therefore, because my daddy, and in this case, my daddy and my brother were here, they were experiencing somewhat the same thing. So we're able to enjoy and have the flavor and the taste of what I was experiencing. Do you want to add anything to that, Chris? Did I miss anything there?
Well, the reason why I had asked you about it is because Mike's birthday is actually on Halloween. And I know he loves chocolate. And I know over the years you have spoken a lot about people should make a birthday cake for someone who has passed, right? So that
Absolutely.
you can enjoy the day together. And so I'm already planning in my mind, what would I want to make for Mike's birthday so that he could also enjoy it. And so that was why I had asked my question.
Well, you know, you don't necessarily, for people out there who don't bake, or the idea of baking a cake would be sort of, you know, a bit too much for them. You don't actually have to bake a cake. Or you can actually bake cookies, or you, if you know that, for instance, for my birthday, you know, I'm not a cake lover. I do make some good cakes, but I'm not a cake lover. So for me, if you wanted to do something for me for my birthday, what would I have? I would have tiramisu, only mine. I don't like anybody else. I'd have my tiramisu, or profiteroles, um, or those wonderful things. I can't think of the name of them now. But anyway, I would probably have anything other than a cake for my dessert. So if you have a loved one in the spirit world and you want to celebrate with them, or you want to do something special for them, whether it's Christmas, birthday, whatever it is, and you want to make them something that they will like, you have to like it as well, though, because, you know, because they're going to get the experience of the flavors and the, and you know, what is going on with you. They're going to get that experience through your enjoyment of. And so if you're thinking, no, definitely not, they might be thinking, why not? But their experience and their feelings are going to be what yours are. So do, if you're planning on doing something, just make sure that you love it just as much as they love it.
Yeah,
Okay, Chris.
that's what I was hoping everybody could hear from you, because we all want to know these things.
Yeah. Well, you know, look, I'm an open book, and we have these shows that we do, and anybody can ask anything at all. It's like on Friday night when we do our spooky stuff. I mean, there there have to be lots of questions that you have to ask about the spooky stuff. Is this real? Can this really happen? Do we really feel this? Can this person actually come to us? And if they do come to us, how do they come to us? In what way do they come to us? And so on. So, I mean, not only are we going to be telling spooky stories and enjoying that, but we're also going to be, you know, every time you speak to someone like me, you can learn a great deal of you know, what goes on, what things mean, and how things affect us, and how things affect your loved ones in the spirit world also.
All right, so Shamanth has a question.
Hi, Shmant.
Many people die after a prolonged and painful illness. Does the soul of these people choose to go away like this to finish off its karma? What is the rationale behind such painful deaths?
Okay, I'm leaving karma aside because that's a whole other subject. But very, very often when we go through a prolonged illness, it's the same as if we go through a prolonged emotional trauma, or if we go through a prolonged and difficult time in our lives. I'm going to remind you of what our wonderful little old lady with no teeth used to say when she would come and visit us. If I could give you a gift for Christmas, I would give you the gift of pain. I would give you the gift of heartache, and I would give you the gift of tears. Now, they may not be gifts that we want, but they are very often gifts that we need. And in fact, I spoke with someone this week who said to me, but why, Rosemary? Why is it happening? Why are all these things happening? And I explained the gifts of pain and hurt and suffering, which really do help us and really do teach us, make us much more of who we are and who we want to be. They give us more depth. They help us to discover that, you know, we are stronger. We have much more strength than we ever thought that we would have. So there are lots of reasons why people do suffer. But having said that, let's not remember also, we have a responsibility too. So if we are, I have a great example. Gosh, I'd forgotten about this story. It just popped, thank you, it just popped into my ear there. So the woman who died of mints, M-I-N-T-S, yes, mints. I don't know if any of you know what polo mints are, but they're like a round candy with a hole in the middle, and very, very popular in England. But the same kind of thing, any kind of candy that is mint candy. Okay, so I had 3 daughters who came to see me. They wanted to connect with their mother if they possibly could. And sure enough, she was there, the mother was there, and she was describing, you know, the pain and the suffering that she was in over quite a long time. And the girls were really sad, really upset, because this poor woman had suffered dreadfully over you know, this period of time. And the mother, as I was talking to her, she actually said to me, "But Rosemary, it was actually my fault." And I said, "How so?" And I said, "You know, well, what was it? How did you die?" And she held up a little bag for me, a little white bag. And she said, "It's these. These are what did it to me." And as she held up the white bag, I couldn't see inside the bag, but I had this incredibly strong smell. This is what I was saying to you about the cooking and the eating and so on, and how we connect together and how we infuse our thoughts and feelings and senses. There was this incredibly strong smell of mints, a really strong mint. And she kept jiggling the bag, and it was a little sweet bag. It was a little candy bag. In England, we used to have little white candy bags that you'd put your sweets in. So she's jiggling the bag, and I could smell these strong mints, and she's laughing at me. She said, "You've got it." She said, "I was addicted to them." She said, "I knew they were bad for me. I knew they'd rot my teeth. What I didn't realize was that they would rot my intestines as well." Now, this was an excessive thing, but this woman used to have mints all day, every day. She was never without them. She would take them to bed with her. She would wake up in the morning and eat them. I mean, she was addicted to them. And over a period of time, years, it took a few years, but over a period of time, sure enough, all of that sugar started to rot her intestines, and she had perforated this, perforated that, perforated the other, all due to these mints that she would eat on a regular basis. So she's telling me all of this, and eventually I say to the girls, "I understand that your mother died because of the mints that she ate." They all looked at me like I was crazy, and I said, "Well, apparently she ate them morning, noon, and night," and they began to cry. And they, "Yes, we did. Yes, she did. She was never without them, and she would eat them all day long, all day and all night. And I said, well, what happened was, and I explained to them, and they said, they'd looked at each other and they said, that's what the doctors said. So we do have a responsibility to our own self as well. If we want to eat stuff that we know is really bad for us, but we want to eat it anyway, it's not about karma. It's not about, this is meant to happen or you're meant to suffer. We do have a responsibility, and sometimes we create our own suffering. So, so let's be sensible about this. We make choices in our lives. We make choices about how we live. We make choices about what we do. We make choices about our attitude more than anything else. We make choices all the time. And many of those choices will lead us to circumstances and situations in which we do suffer. And it's not that we're making necessarily bad choices. We're just not making the right choices. And sometimes we don't even know what the right choices are. And I'm coming right back full circle. You know where I'm going with this, Chris, right? We're coming full circle back to the bottom brick, which shows us, that exercise shows us the choices that we're making, how we're allowing other people to affect our choices, how we're allowing other people to dictate how we live our lives, and how easy it is to remedy the stuff that goes on in our lives that lead us to awful situations, how we can easily remedy those decisions that we make and start to make the right decisions and good decisions. Right, Chris?
It reminds me of a neighbor I have who has had, for years, a problem with her intestines and stomach, requiring frequent trips to the bathroom, let's just say. And the doctor had mentioned to her, you really need to stop having dairy. And I said to her, have you stopped having dairy? And she said, oh no, because I can't have my coffee without the milk. And I really love cheese and I've got to nibble on the cheese. And I
Well,
said,
there you
well,
go.
then, yeah, things aren't going to change.
No, exactly. Choices. We make choices. But they
Uh,
are so easy to remedy if we want to remedy them. Okay, let's have some other questions going on here, shall we?
All right. So Mark said, I just learned my backyard neighbor passed from an accident. Can Gray Eagle give me a message from Tim to share with his family? I love that Spirit World is always near and will reassure my neighbor of this. Love you all.
Mark, thank you for asking. I understand why you're asking, but not today. Keep going, Chris.
All right. Cheryl had typed into the chat room when you were
Uh-oh.
asking if she was on in big capital bold letters. Good morning.
This is our bottom bricker, Cheryl.
Yes. She said, thanks for guiding me and holding my hand. What did you do to me? LOL. I feel so confident. That's
Oh, good.
fabulous.
Well, Cheryl, I didn't do anything to you. In sharing and allowing me to guide you a little bit, and allowing Grey Eagle to guide you a little bit, and allowing us to be part of your life for a short period of time, what we did was we helped you to find the confidence that I knew you had inside of you. I knew you could do this. We knew that you could do this. So all we did was sort of stand by, push in certain directions a little bit, hold your hand a little bit. You did all the rest yourself, and good for you. Well done, my darling. All right, Chris.
Eric saying good morning, and it's
Morning, Eric.
raining here now in Northern California, north
Oh,
of San Francisco. S-
oh,
So no, Rosemary, this is good. Do you remember Eric had asked earlier about a prayer that they could do to
oh,
stop the
yes,
fires?
yes,
And they've been
yes.
doing that every morning. And so now he's saying it's raining here now. So he's very excited.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad. And we do need the rain. Uh, it makes me smile because there are so many different places in a lot of countries, and in America it happens. if it's raining, people don't go out. They don't, they don't. They stay in. Oh, it's raining. I'm going to stay in and watch a movie or something like that. But in my country, we are so used to the rain that if we stayed in when it rained, we'd never go out ever, hardly. So, we're not afraid. We're not afraid. The Brits are not afraid of the rain. So I'm glad, Eric, that your prayers are working. I'm glad that the rain has come, and I'm hoping that it solves all the issues, the awful issues of the fires. Chris.
Jeannie says, my mom passed a week ago at the age of 95.
Wow.
She was a real skeptic when I talked to her about you and mediums. Is she okay? And does she know that she was wrong?
Oh gosh, Jeannie. Well, um, it would be, look, it's the same with Mark, who just asked this same question. It would be so easy for me to say to you, don't you worry, she's fine, everything's fine, and she knows what mistakes she's made and so on. But it wouldn't be true. You'd think I was wonderful. You would think that that would be great, but it wouldn't be true. And the one thing that I must always pay attention to is, if I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. And at the moment, my darling, I don't see your mom, and I do have Gregor's hand on my shoulder here, so I can reassure you that I'm pretty sure that she's safe, and he's nodding, and I'm pretty sure that she's made it over okay. As for the rest of it, no, I'm not. I wouldn't. There's such a thing as integrity. I could make myself look really good and tell you some wonderful things which wouldn't be true. I'm not going to do that. It's only when I can see or can hear or know from Grey Eagle that I can really, tell you what is going on. And right now, at this moment in time, that's not happening. But I can assure you, because of Grey Eagle, that she's fine. Chris.
Shamanth says, a year or so ago, I had an early morning dream in which I saw a spirit slash ghost as a white fog. It spoke to me and asked for help. I just blessed it and it disappeared. I felt intuitively that it got released from the stuck state it was in. Can you please ask Grey Eagle about this dream or event and its significance?
Um, my thought is, I'm listening to Grey Eagle as well. My thought is that it's someone in your family who was simply looking for acknowledgement. And you said, my darling, that you blessed it, which is always a good thing to do. And simply being acknowledged. Many people in the spirit world just simply want to be acknowledged, that for you to say, I know you're there. And that eases them tremendously. I don't think, I'm not going to say that this apparition came to you because it was stuck, because maybe, but maybe not. And the likelihood is not. The likelihood is that it's someone in your family who is basically saying to you, can you see me? And you're saying yes. And I wish you well, is what you're saying when you bless someone. Uh, and so just getting that recognition is then enough for them. Be careful when you see people in the spirit world, when you're talking, be careful that you're not making assumptions. Unless somebody actually clearly says to you, in a way that you can understand, I am stuck, or I am having an issue, uh, and then they go on to tell you what the issue is. Until you hear that clearly, please don't make assumptions about what somebody's trying to do. But when you're hearing her say, this person saying help, um, what they're asking for is simply, help me to see you clearly. I want to help you see me clearly. She may not have been asking you for help. She may have been wanting to give help to you in that moment in time. So again, I'm saying to everybody, fabulous experience, by the way, but don't make assumptions about what it all means, because it could mean something completely different than what you think. Chris.
Earth Angel is on, and I think this could be one of the first times we've seen Earth Angel in the YouTube room. Um, and she was asking, or he or she was asking, if you give messages. But they're also asking, why did JP and Amy block me?
I have no idea. I do give messages sometimes on these Thursday shows, but we do have our webinars, and we have a webinar once every month to 6 weeks, roughly, uh, when we do simply spend 3 hours giving messages to the people who join the webinar. And we give messages from the spirit world, and those webinars are fantastic, aren't they, Chris? We have such a blast. We have all kinds of people from all different walks of life coming from the spirit world to give messages, and we just it's great. So if you want to do something like that, keep checking us out, subscribe, and that way you'll get the newsletter and you'll know what's going on with us, or just simply check the website rosemaryaltea.com. Chris?
Lorraine's asking, did you get a chance to speak with Gray Eagle regarding a pet's example, like doggies pick when they will cross the rainbow bridge? Because you've talked about humans do before they come into our world.
Well, I think it's pets come for. Now I'm thinking, let me think about this clearly before I tell you this. But I do feel that our pets come to us for particular reasons, and I think they come to us to learn from us, but to also give to us, and to grow from our experiences with them and their experiences with us. And I think uh, it's like those of us who are in our human form, we come for different reasons, and I think animals are the same. Do they choose? And Gravel says it's possible. So there you have it. That's all I've got for now. Oh boy, couldn't we just, these questions, some of them are so good. And I could sit just talking about that one question, talking about that one issue for a whole hour, but we can't because we have so many people in, and we do try to give people the opportunity as much as we can to ask their questions. Chris?
Vicky says, I know this isn't the forum, but sometimes you do it. So do you have any message for me, because my son's birthday is coming up and it really is a melancholy time of the year for me and my family?
Okay. This is not the forum to do this. But having said that, I don't know how this one snuck in here, but I do have a young man standing next to Grey Eagle. So I'm going to just do this. Hey, because you asked, but also because we did talk about birthdays earlier on. Chris's husband's birthday's coming up, and we did talk about that sort of thing. So I'm going to give you a message from this boy, and he's laughing. He's a little bit more than a boy now. He's laughing at me as I'm listening to him. And so this is this is his request. Okay, so this is his request for his birthday. Are you ready for his request? Definitely he's laughing. Definitely a cake, but it does not have to be a real cake. It has to be filled with emotion, filled with love, filled with joy, and when you cut into it and you taste it, filled with the knowledge of celebrating. We don't die. I love this young man. Yeah, I really love him. We don't die. Okay, so that's what he wants you to celebrate. As hard, he knows how hard it is, but he sees you crying. He sees you torn. He sees the difficulty you have because of the loss and the pain. But through all of that, and because of all of that, he's asking, could you celebrate? Could you celebrate that I didn't die? Could you celebrate that I'm okay? Could you celebrate that I'm with my angels? Could you celebrate that I'm with God? I'm listening, trying to get everything in that he says to me. And for all the mothers, to all the mothers, and to my mother, to my mum, I love you, I love you, I love you. We, all the children of the spirit world, we all love you. So because of that, because he can say that to you, could you try, as hard as it is, could you try to smile a little during the day, knowing that he's standing right next to you, know he's standing with you and the family, and knowing that you're celebrating that there is no death, we don't die, and that one day you'll be together again. Not, he says, not too soon. You've got other things to do. And he's laughing and he's blowing kisses. And that's it. Okay, Chris, moving on. I'm getting a bit emotional here myself. Go on, Chris.
I think all of us are. How that was so special. All right. So Betta's asking, when we talk loudly about our loved ones, do they hear us? Like last night, we were joking about how my grandfather watched TV up close and at full blast.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we don't need to talk loudly, because if we did, I'd be shouting through this, wouldn't I? So we don't need to talk loudly for those in the spirit world to hear us, because they hear our thoughts, they hear our feelings, they hear everything about us, they use all of their senses, and as we do ours when we're trying to make that connection. Um, I'm told to tell you. I'm told to tell you that he's not blind or deaf any longer. So there's no need for him to sit that close to the TV anymore. And everybody around me in the spirit world, everybody's having a good chuckle about that one. So just, when it's a funny story, but when you think about him, just understand he can see clearly, he can hear clearly, and also he's laughing. No more tea. No more sorry. No more TV. What? No more TV. Except when it comes to your house, and you have it on far too much. By the way, that's all I can tell you. There you go, Chris.
So there's a question for you, Rosemary. You've said they can hear us, they know our emotions, they know what we're thinking. The question is about, like, basically how loud do we need to be to communicate with them?
The
Is
quiet,
there
the quieter, the better.
So is it thought that reaches people in the
Yeah,
spirit world the
yeah,
best over
yeah.
anything else?
Well, no, not the best. Look. Before the words come out of our mouths, they are thoughts processed into words. So it's all the same, isn't it?
All right. Bonnie is on saying hello from Connecticut, Rosemary.
Hi,
Sorry.
Bonnie.
I was wondering if my dad, who passed over, is ever around and watching over me.
Somebody said this is not the forum. So I open the door and look what happens.
Oh, their thoughts were already in before they typed into the chat room, Rosemary, before you ever said that.
Well, I actually didn't say it was the forum. Somebody else said that, and I agreed that it wasn't. But yes, what was the question again?
Her dad, who passed
Stop.
over.
Yes, yeah. Sorry. Now, this message is not from your dad. Well, sort of is, but from Great Eagle, and through Great Eagle, I can tell you that your dad is not always with you, but often with you and often visiting. There's been some, didn't expect to go this far. There's been some arguing or some discussion of some kind about a gravestone. I don't know what it's about, but whatever it's about, it's fine because he's not in the grave anyway. So whatever sort of a gravestone or a monument or whatever it was, some inscription. There's been some family discussion and disagreement about something like that, and he's telling me to tell you it doesn't matter. That's as far as I'm going with that, because I could get so involved. You see, the problem is, the reason I do this and the reason I do this well is because I'm a really nosy person. I want to know what people are thinking. I want to know what people are feeling. The same with when I'm communicating with spirit world. Can you give me a bit more? Oh, tell me some more. That sounds interesting to me. So I get very nosy about things, and then I don't know when to stop. Chris, moving on.
Julie's letting you know and everybody know that they made pumpkin pie for the first time. SIBO friendly. So I used pecan nuts and an egg in the base, and it was lovely.
Oh, well, I love pecan pie. I do not like pumpkin pie, but I'm so glad that you did it. Maybe you'd like to send us the recipe, because if it was lovely, mind you, so many people. I love pumpkins. I love to eat pumpkins. I love to eat squash of all sorts of. I like acorn squash. I love it when you cut it in half and you put honey in, and you bake it in the oven. I love squash in every description. But pumpkin pie, maybe it's just because I haven't yet had one that I liked, because they're too pumpkiny for me. But I'm glad you made it, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, my darling. Chris.
Mary wants to know, do you believe in the stigmata or that a person suffers in order to save souls?
um I Yes, again, oh, we're getting some great questions. I do wish we had more time to answer that one. I do, you know, I do believe, this is what I do believe, and that I can tell you clearly. I'm not sure if it's answering your question, but I think it should. I do believe that Christ died on the cross to save us all. Um, in other words, I think he went through the pain and the suffering, in order perhaps to teach us something or to show us something, that through that suffering we learn, through that suffering we grow, through that suffering we can inspire other people, and through that suffering, as we know, if those are for those of you who know about Christ or were brought up with Christ as I was, um, he then survived and met with Mary on the road, and trying to think of the disciples that he met on the road, he showed them the holes in his hands. I think that was Peter, or anyway, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. Um, but so um, again, I'm going to repeat. Uh, we were told many years ago by a wonderful little old lady from the spirit world, if I could give you a gift for Christmas, I would give you the gift of pain, the gift of heartache, and the gift of tears. We don't want those gifts, but they are precious gifts, and they do teach us something. So I'm not sure if I've answered your question, but there you go. Chris.
All right, Carol's on saying, I've moved to Texas. It's been a bit bumpy. I've been moving from job to job, and I'm looking for the right stable or situation. It's been quite a ride so far. Are there any words from Gray Eagle about this?
Just so much encouragement that you're getting from him. You're doing exactly I think you know that you're doing exactly the right thing, Carol, and it's lovely to hear from you. But you're doing the right thing. You will find exactly the right spot. Be patient. Chris.
Sandra says it's raining here in Ohio, and it's a good day to make Rosemary's apples.
Oh, good. Well, my daughter and grandson, this coming weekend, they are going apple picking. And so uh, she always calls me when she's got apples. Okay, how do you make this? How do you make that? She likes making apple crumble because it's easier than making apple pie. No rolling out of pastry or anything. But uh, apple crumble is my favorite. So when we have our next cooking show, if we have it before October is over, or even in November, it doesn't really matter. Uh, Maybe I'll show you how to make an apple crumble, because I love, love, love apple crumble. But if you go to the YouTube channel and you watch how I made the apples, the baked apples, um, on last Sunday, if you would like to sort of liven it up a bit, you can put spices in your sugar. I don't like cinnamon, so I do not put cinnamon in my fruit pies, my fruit, my any of that. I don't, because I just don't care for it. I'll sometimes use cinnamon sticks if I'm making a certain curry, but I don't care for the taste of it. If it's too strong, I can't. No, I can't eat it. So you'll rarely find me using it. That doesn't mean that you can't use it and add to it. So let me know how the apple baking turns out, Chris.
Eric said, I went out and got wet in the rain, and I saw a double rainbow. Do
Oh,
rainbows
nice.
have spiritual significance?
Well, everything's energy, isn't it? Everything's about energy. And it's when we see the rainbows, it's one of those times that we can actually see the colors that are in the atmosphere, and the you know the that are in our aura, surround our aura, because our aura is made up of the different types, different colors. So when you're looking at a rainbow, it's almost as if you're looking at the aura of the or the energy that is around that particular spot that you're seeing it. So it's just a nice thing to see. Chris.
Dina said, October 15th, after 1 a.m., I began to feel a pain in my head, on the top, in the brain. I just found out that a friend of mine's son passed on October 14th from an accident at his job. Could
Yeah.
that have been him?
Yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You're obviously very, very sensitive to these things. But be careful, because when those in the spirit world, they'll come to us. Sometimes it can be so powerful and it can be painful, and we have to show them that, hey, you don't need to bring it to me. You just talk to me about it. But obviously, I think this boy was trying to. You must be close to his family, and so he must be trying to say to you, hey, I'm okay. Weirdly, he's giving you this feeling of what happened, but he's trying to somehow get through to so that his family can know that he's okay.
Well,
Nice. I'm glad you're
Rosemary,
sensitive. Yes.
we're right at time. There are a ton of people have, many, many, many more messages, so we can't get to
Okay.
them.
Well, it is what it is. And this is why we say to people, try to come on early, because if you come on, just right up on time, or if you're ready to go as soon as we're ready to go, which is 11 o'clock, you have more chance of us answering your questions. But having said that, we're back on Saturday morning uh, with our story time. So you get another shot at it. Just get in there on the dot of 11 so you can get your questions in. But we'll be back for story time, and maybe there'll be another little bit of a spooky story, because after all, it's still October, and we might even, possibly tomorrow, I've got to talk to Chris about it, we might even be doing an off the cuff where you'll get a chance to ask questions as well. So just keep watching for us, and we'll be there, we'll be popping in. So all right, so well, thank you so much for everybody for joining us. Chris, thank you, you always do a great job. I'd like to say thank you to Great Eagle. Yes, I'm winding up, I know, I'm sorry. I'd love to talk more, I'd love to talk longer, but there we are. And so I'd like to say thank you to Great Eagle, because his participation, you can see how, when someone in the spirit world is trying to get through to us, and how he helps them and guides them, and that's very important for me, that I have him there to help me to do that. So thank you, all of you, for joining us. Please, please, please join us again on Saturday morning if you can for story time. We'll be back next Thursday, same time, same place. In the
No,
meantime,
next week, Rosemary, Thursday, we're going to do it at 1:15.
oh, So next Thursday, we won't be here at 11. We'll be here at 1:15. So get your sandwiches ready, get your soup ready, get whatever it is you're having for lunch, and you can sit and have lunch and watch me. Next Thursday, the time has changed, but Chris, you'll put it up
Yes.
on the website so everybody will know. But we will be here and we will be doing it next Thursday. So we will see you next Thursday, if not before. In the meantime, please, all of you, have a very, very blessed rest of the day and have a very blessed rest of the week and weekend, everybody.